So for the next part, I'm using a yoga mat here, just rolled up. It's a very thin one, so it's not very high. When I lay on it, it's maybe 1.5 inches. And this next one is to get the glutes online. So if the glutes aren't working correctly, again, we get torque through the pelvis. We're not correctly supporting that. And so you could think about your pelvic floor, and the deep abdominal muscles are the content of the pelvic bowl, and that doesn't all fall apart from the inside. There's some tone drawing that in, and then from the outside, the glutes help to stabilize the pelvic girdle as well. So sometimes we get very wonky, and only one of our glutes is really working correctly, and that's a problem, because then we get more and more out of alignment, especially when we do exercise and stuff, and that's part of it. And we're training that pattern. So, and then the quadriceps get tight, IT bands, and TFL, of course, with that. So let's see if we can find the glutes today. Again, this is neural repatterning. Do not mistake this for exercise. So it is done with very acute attention, precision, being true with yourself, because if you don't do that step by step and break this down for the nervous system at every intersection where the nervous system has to kind of fire the correct muscle in that chain, you need to pause and let the nervous system realize what is happening. And we go, every repetition is one unit of its own. And it's not even a repetition, it's a whole new thing. You're doing that. And you have to go all the way back. If you're pre-engaged in any way, you're not doing anything. You have to go back to zero before that decision tree in your neurological system starts. And then it's the learning of that pathway to learn, oh, I'm going to go right here instead of left. I used to go left by accident, and now I'm going to have to learn to go right. And then maybe I make it through the net. I can remember that one, yeah, and then I end up here. And maybe that's it, because then you can't quite do the next part. So come all the way back to zero, train that part, and then go on from there. But what it looks like is in practice is basically the following. So I have that rolled up yoga mat. My hip points are those bony processes of my pelvis, my ilia, and they have a little bit of shape of a hook. And that hook, I can feel if there's a ridge here of my pelvis, and then there all of a sudden there's a dip. It's soft, so that hook is right above that dip. And with that hook, I'm going a little bit on top of in the center on top of my yoga mat. And then I'm basically going to move myself a little bit towards my feet, and it helps me to rock my pelvis into a tuck. Yeah, so I want to be in a tuck. So my belly is drawing in, and my mid-back can lift up a little bit instead of hanging out here. Yeah. So this is very different from what we just did. Here you need a lot of work in your core to support your back, that this doesn't, again, you're not engaging the back and lifting your leg from there, if you can even lift it. It's all about getting your glutes to fire. A lot of the problems start when you're creating hip extension like that from the hamstring, and that fires before your glute, and that is not correct in your kinetic chain. And so we want to reverse that tendency, basically. And it might be on one side, no problem. And I always suggest start with the side where you feel that your glute can even engage. And then you know what it feels like, and then you try to translate it to the other side. So here we go. You can be with your forehead on your stacked palms like this. And then I'm really making sure, okay, this is my tuck. See, I'm really actively tucking, and I'm thinking I want this to go towards the ceiling. And I may or may not be able to get my foot off the floor like this, but it's not what it's about, right? It's not about range of motion. So from here, the first step is I push the top of the foot into the floor. So I'm going to do the leg that's closest to the camera. Then from here, I'm going to reach that leg long to get more extension through my hip. And that's make sure that you're not reaching long from the hip, but really from your back, tucking under more. And then from here, I should feel when I press the top of my foot into the floor that my knees coming off the floor, my thighs coming off the floor. And at the same time, I'm pressing that foot down. Can feel that. So for me, nothing has happened yet in my glute. You might feel just the reach is enough for you to find your glute. And I have to now consciously do that. So I'm reaching and I'm going to squeeze my glute a little bit on that side. And then from here, I'm going to try and lift my foot just a tiny bit off the floor to hover. And if you feel that you're dipping towards the floor with your belly, that's wrong. So stop doing that. That's too much for you, then don't lift your leg. You do not want to feel your lower back engage once again. So if you cannot find your glute at all and you're like, I have no idea, one option is to really feel. So feel it with your hand and then try to push into your fingertips with that muscle so that you feel, oh yeah, this is what my glute feels like. This is where it is. If that doesn't work still, go another step back and you're going to squeeze both glutes. Try to squeeze both glutes first. And once you have that, you can even keep both glutes squeezing. Reach your right leg, press the top of the foot down. You can keep the fingertip here if you need. Really tuck, make a little room under your belly here. And then see if you can tiny bit leave the floor, maybe not. I'm barely coming up. It's about this biting together here. That's where I'm initiating. Yeah, I don't want to feel anything in my low back. And then I can do that on the other side too. I could reach around, reach, and then come up. And what's really important is too that when you're lifting your leg, so when I'm lifting the leg that's on the far side from the camera, but notice the side that's towards the camera. What we don't want to do is this. I don't want to lift my leg here and then dip into the opposite side or roll this side. So you need to stabilize that all by, you can do even an exhale with the sounds or shh, really feel a tone in the core, and then you can try and lift the leg or keep it on the floor, just reach long. It's about you feeling your glute engage. That's the goal, nothing else. Yeah. All right. So I hope that makes it clear how to do that one.